Do you know that having a lot of money in your bank account does not guarantee financial freedom or financial independence, or does not make you to be very wealthy or to be very, very rich? It is an incontrovertible fact that when you put your money in the bank account, that does not make you to be rich. I will explain. When you're talking about wealth, putting your money in the bank account, you're only making other people to be rich, because the bank is going to give the money to some other people, and the bank will make what I call interest at the end of the day. None of that money is going to be given to you. Number two factor is what I call inflation. When you put money in the bank, over time, inflation is going to affect that money, because that money is not creating any value. By the time you start spending that money, you're going to realize that that money does not have any value. For example, imagine you saving 1 million naira in that bank account, and now you are retiring 1 million naira. And in this economic situation, you are actually paying yourself 100,000 naira every month. It will not take you more than 10 months before that money is going to disappear and you're back to square one, which is an incontrovertible fact. So you might feel rich, you might feel abundant, you might feel surplus, but with the high level of inflation, the money does not have value at the end of the day. Eventually, you are going to run out of money when you start spending the money. After some time, you are going to get broke. You are going to be broke. There is not going to be any money in your pocket again, because why? You have not taken a wise decision in terms of following the rules of money or the dynamics of what of wealth creation. Saving money in a savings account or putting money in a savings account is not a guarantee to wealth creation. The money is not creating value, the money is not growing, the money is not working, the money is not creating a compound effect, because money is actually a spirit and does not like to stay in one particular place stagnant, but money likes moving around, money likes working, money doesn't like stagnancy. When we keep that money in the bank, we think we are on top of the world, we think we are actually alive, we think that we have actually made it, but at the end of the day, that money is not working for you. It is working for somebody else. It is creating value for somebody else. And who is that person? The person making use of that money to create businesses, and the bank giving the money in form of loan to that individual borrowing that money. So they are the one making the profit, but you are not making any profit at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you should not put your money in the savings account. It is good to put money in the savings account, but it is not advisable that money you're putting in the savings account is meant for retirement, because at the end of the day, it's not going to create any value for you. Instead of you putting that money in a savings account, you can put that money in an investment where that money is going to be working for you at the end of the day. Now, we need to understand this concept very well, because a lot of people does not understand the word wealth. When we talk about wealth, what does it mean when you talk about wealth? In this topic, I'm quickly going to explain what we mean by wealth, so that you can be able to know where you actually belong to, whether you're actually wealthy or you're not wealthy. Wealthy people don't save money in the bank account. They only put money for emergency in the bank account. They invest most of the chunks of their money at the end of the day. And that's why in the capitalist economic system, the rich keeps getting richer and the poor gets poorer. Now, what do we mean by wealth? When you see somebody is actually wealthy, you see, wealth is when you have enough cash flow from your investment. When you have enough cash flow from your investment, you will say you are wealthy. What do I mean by cash flow? Cash flow simply means that you have means that is generating money for you at the end of the day. Now, when you talk about wealth, you see, most people that are wealthy today, they have what we call diversification of portfolio investment. They have what I call multiple streams of income. They have what I call passive income. Diversification of portfolio investment, that is, they have different investment portfolio. They have passive income, something that they are actually doing that is getting them money at the end of the day, apart from their primary job. Then they have multiple streams of income. They don't have one source of income, but many sources of income. So are you the kind of person that you have a single form of income? It's not actually guaranteed to wealth creation. You need to create what I call multiple streams of income or passive income. So when you say somebody is actually wealthy, it means that you have enough cash flow from an investment to pay for all your expenses without going to work to earn the money. Do you see? without going to work to earn the money. So what we're saying here is that in this situation, your investment is actually covering your expenses. When you get to that point where your investment is actually covering your expenses without necessarily working, then you can say that you're actually wealthy. So wealth is when you have enough cash flow from your investment to pay for all your expenses without going to work for the money. So even though you are not working, your money is actually working for you. When you are not working, your money is actually working for you. Do you see now? Because most people are actually working for money, and the money is not actually working for them. They are working for the money. At the end of the day, that is why they cannot save. That is why they cannot invest. That is why in most cases, when they get the money, no form of budgetary allocation or plan at the end of the month, they end up in debt at year 1, year 2, year 3, throughout the whole year. They end up from one debt to another. They're always paying debt from one point to another. They're always borrowing money from one point to another. Because why? They are not living the right way that the principle of money is talking about. So when you earn the money, one of the principles states that you need to divide your money into 3 parts: spending, savings, and investment. You see, when you talk about spending, it's actually the money we spend every day. We all spend money, buy food, buy clothes, and all. We spend money every day. Then you need to prepare some part of that money for emergency. But unfortunately, people, misinterpret savings for what? For the future, for wealth creation. It is not for wealth creation. Savings is actually for emergency. Because life happens, there will be a situation where you find yourself in a situation of emergency that you need to rescue yourself from that situation. Maybe your car became faulty, or your children are sick, you need to pay for your children's school fees, you need to pay for your house rent, and most of them, they all fall under what we call the emergency. Then investment is actually the one that you're actually putting for the future. They are the money that you don't need at that moment. You are using it to create more value at the end of the day. Your investment is paying for all your expenses. So when you talk about investment, your investment is actually the one to create what I call a multiplying effect, or to create what I call a compound. Because over time, after some period of time, that money will begin to compound. When you start at the beginning, it may look small, but over time, the money begins to build up and build up. Just like when you start planting, something, and that thing actually start actually to germinate, and it becomes something big. That is what investment is actually all about. So spending is actually for emergency, not for wealth creation. When you talk about investment, your investment should be able to pay for all your expenses, even when you are not working, because life happens. We're all growing old every day. There will be a time you cannot do all those things you're actually doing before. That means that they are not as active as you used to be before. Now, at that point, what are you going to rely on? What are you going to depend on? What is going to feed you when you are not doing those things again? Do you get it now? And that's why investment actually comes in. When you actually invest over a period of time, at least for a minimum of 10 years, even when you're not working, your investment is actually working for you. Your money is working for you. By that time, your money has actually compounded. Let me give you this scenario or this example. Imagine you are able to save like maybe 20 million for a period of 10 years, 20 million for a period of 10 years. Do you know that after 10 years, with that 20 million, you are going to earn 43 million at the end of the day, 43 point something million at the end of the day. Now imagine, can't you retire with 43 million? You can retire with 43 million. Even when you are not working, you are going to feed for the rest of your life. All that you're going to need, it will cover it. It will cover all your expenses. That is what we call wealth creation. So you can see now, when we talk about wealth is when all your expenses are being able to cover by your investment, that even when you're not working, you are actually living your life to the fullest. So you may not necessarily need to work for the rest of your life when it comes to the issue of investment, because over time, your investment money will begin to work for you and begin to feed you for the rest of your life. So a lot of people will say this is actually impossible, this is actually utopia, this is actually not a reality. It is actually a reality, because I'm going to show you as we move on this topic that it can actually become a reality at the end of the day. There are actually step-by-step methods to actually achieve wealth. You see, when you talk about wealth, there are certain step-by-step methods which I'm going to explain for you in this topic, so that at the end of the day, you can be able to build wealth for yourself and your family and your generation yet unborn. Because it's actually a generational wealth. When you talk about wealth, it's actually a generational wealth where you can actually leave something for your children. Even when you're not there, your children will be blessing you at the end of the day. Number one is what I call income. That is the step-by-step method to achieve wealth. Now, when you talk about income, there are two ways to income. Number one is what I call salary, and the second is what I call profit. Now, when you talk about salary, which is the first one, salary, you all know that we work and get money at the end of the day. I'm actually a worker. At the end of every 30 days, I get paid in form of a salary. So we have actually, gone to school, from the primary school to secondary school, from secondary school to university. Now you have gotten a job and you are working and they are paying you what I call a salary. You are earning a salary. That is what I call income in form of a salary. Then what is the second way of making what I call income or making money? The second one is what I call profit. Is what I call profit. Now you are working in a company and you are getting paid at the end of the month. The company also makes profit for itself because after paying all the staff, the remaining money that's actually, after settling the staff, paying for transportation, paying for this and paying for that, the remaining money that is left over is the profit. Now, who earns the profit at the end of the day? After paying the general manager, the directors, the employees, and the rest of them in that company, electricity bill, miscellaneous, and the rest of them. What is remaining now in form of the profit goes to the owner of the company. The owner of the company can be an individual or can be a group of individuals. Do you get it now? So what we're saying here is that you can actually make income in form of a profit when you are working at an organization, and you can also make income in form of a salary when you're actually working with an organization as well. So what we're saying here is that the income that is earned by a salary earner is an employee. Then the income that is earned as a profit is actually the owner of the company. Number two is how to get the profit. How to get the profit. Now, when you talk about how to get the profit, you can get the profit by buying it, or you can get the profit by building it. You see, most people build wealth by buying it. Now, what do I mean by buying it? When you talk about buying it, you're talking about investing into a company. There are so many mediums you can actually invest your money. You can invest by buying shares. You can buy stocks like ETFs, like that is equity trust funds, like mutual funds, like index funds, like shares of the company like Dangote or Zenith Bank or Access Bank and the rest of them. They are selling shares. You can buy into their shares. You can go into what we call rental estate as well. You can go into what we call buying and selling of crypto. They are all forms of buying it. Do you get it now? So when you buy it, for example, you buy a share in a company, it makes you a co-owner of that company. And when that company actually makes a profit, you share as a co-owner of that profit. Now, the amount of profit that you're going to get at the end of the day in form of a dividend will be dependent on how much assets you have in that company, how much shares you have in that company, how much stocks you actually have in that company. So how much shares of stock that you actually have in that company will determine how much you're going to get at the end of the day. So you can get the profit through buying it as a co-owner of a company when you buy shares and other forms of investment portfolios. Then the second one is by building it. When you say by building it simply means that you are actually an entrepreneur or the business owner. In this situation, you are actually the one that builds the company. So when the company makes a profit, the profit actually comes to you because you are the owner of the company. You have the ownership of the company. The company is actually created by you. So can you now see how you can actually make a profit? Either by buying into investment or by being the owner of the company. When after the company has actually made this profit, the remaining part of the profit actually comes to you at the end of the day because you are the owner of the company. So you can build your asset from the beginning or from the scratch when you talk about building it. So in this situation, you have what I call, or you build what I call the sweat equity. So you have the ownership because you created the business. That's number two. So in number two now we said how to get the profit, either by buying it or by building it. The third one is how to buy the profit. Now, this one is very technical, how to buy the profit. To buy the profit, you need to own the asset, or you need to own an asset that is generating the profit. So you cannot make a profit when you don't invest into what? Into the asset. So what they're saying here is that for you to make a profit at the end of the day, you need to invest into the asset. So to buy the profit, you need to own an asset that is generating the profit. So to do this, you can buy ownership in the company, or you can buy the assets in a public traded company. You know, there are so many ways you can actually buy this profits. For example, you can buy into shares, which I've mentioned earlier. Like for example, like what I'm doing now, I'm doing what I call mutual funds. You know, mutual funds, where I buy into money market funds, and I have, you know, other streams of income as well that's generating me you know, money at the end of the day. So what we're saying there is that you can actually buy the profit by buying the ownership in the company. Now, buying ownership in the company simply means that you have become a co-owner in the company. A co-owner in the company. For example, if I decide to buy into S&P 500 in America, one of the 500 strongest company in America, I can buy into what? Into those companies like the S&P 500. I can buy into Vanguard, that is equity trust funds, like you know, index funds, or what's called mutual funds. So buying into the company simply means that you are a co-owner in that company. Then apart from this, we can also buy ownership in the stock market. So when you buy a stock in a company, it makes you a co-owner of that company, and as a result of this, you share in the profits made by the company. So when the company actually make profit, you share in the profit of that company. So you can now see that you can actually buy the profit by buying ownership in that company. So when you own an asset in the company, you are a co-owner in that company. So when they make money in form of dividend or whatsoever, you have a share that is coming to you, depending on the numbers of shares or stocks that you actually have, or depending on how much you have actually invested into the investment platform or portfolio at the end of the day. You can actually be paid through what I call a dividend. In most cases in Nigeria, most of the companies every year they pay their shareholders what I call a dividend. Now, when you talk about dividend can be in form of money that is paid into your asset at the end of the day, or when the value of the company actually go in what I call market capitalization. Because there are some companies that their market value or capitalization always increase over time. For example, maybe in year one they can make 500 billion naira. Then in the following year they can make maybe 700 billion. That means that in that situation, the value of the company has actually gone up in market capitalization. So when the value of the company goes up, it is called the appreciation. It means that the value of that company has actually appreciated. So when it appreciates, that means that the money you are going to get at the end of the day is going to be increased also. So you can grow your profit by growing your assets. So when you grow your assets, you are growing your profit. The more you invest, the more money you make at the end of the day. So you can invest in equity trust fund, like I said before, S&P 500. You can invest in mutual funds. You can invest in the index funds. You can invest in so many other forms of investment portfolios. In fact, if you want more on this, you can watch my videos where I've actually explained all of them one after the other. So real wealth is actually built through a decade of what I call sacrifice. Because some people say I can build wealth, after 1 year they lose hope, they lose confidence, they want to withdraw the money. It's never like that. If you talk about the decade of sacrifice, a minimum of 10 years is what you need to target for yourself. Now imagine you are saving 1.2 million naira for the next 10 years. That makes it 24, that makes it 12 million. Now when it compounds after 10 years, you have about 27 or 24 million naira at the end of the day. That is a big amount of money. Even when you are retiring, you can retire with 24 million. Then that means at the end of the day, you are going to be getting 4.8 million naira in form of a salary every year. So what you now do is that with that 4.8 million naira, you now spread it for a period of 12 calendar months where you are going to be paying yourself salary. Even when you are not working, you are earning money every month. Can you see? That is the beauty of investing. When you invest money, you are making or creating a better platform or soft landing for yourself in the future. At the end of every financial year, after every deduction has been made, how to build the profit entails is that when the company has settled every other thing running cost of the company, electricity bill, paying the workers, the directors and the general managers and the rest of them, and other decisions have been settled. What is now left over? The company or the individual can now decide whether to save that money or to invest the money or to actually spend the money. So to build a company, you must have what we call the product, and you must also have what we call the customer. Because in most cases, that's why most businesses in Nigeria always die, because a lot of people always like copying other people. Because somebody is making something in an area and is making headway, you decide to go into it, but you don't have an idea about that thing. Because in most cases, those businesses or that business is going to fail or crumble at the end of maybe after a year or even 6 months or some few months. The business will collapse. Because why? You don't know about the business. So if you want to build a company, you must have what we call the product. Then you must have what we call the customers. Then number 5 things which I'm going to talk about now is the mindset. You see, if you don't have a good mindset, then you don't need to go into a business. You need to avoid the broke mindset, the loser mindset, the scarcity mindset, the discouragement mindset, the mindset that's always discouraged, that is weak, that is feeble, that is broke, that is a loser, that doesn't have an idea, an empty mindset. Because that is the situation most people find themselves, because they have what I call an empty mindset. So for you to grow a business or for you to start a business, you must have a positive mindset. You must avoid a negative mindset. Your mindset must be a mindset that does not believe in failure. Your mindset is a kind of mindset, should be a mindset that does not believe in an obstacle, that does not believe in an impediment, that does not believe in losing, that does not believe in being broke. You must have a positive mindset, a mindset that will take you up and take you to the right decision at the end of the day. Because when you're talking about a mindset, your mindset is actually something you build inside of you to become a reality. But when you are starting something and you already have a negative mindset, that thing cannot succeed. So if you have a negative mindset, you cannot, you have actually created a roadblock for yourself. So if your mindset is actually a negative one, you have actually created a roadblock for yourself. You have actually created what we call an impediment for yourself. You have already created what I call an obstruction for yourself. And at the end of the day, you might not be able to achieve something good at the end of the day, because your mindset is what you actually visualize in you to become a reality. So for you to actually succeed in business, you must have a positive mindset. Your mindset should not be a loser mindset or a broke mindset or a negative mindset. For you to be able to develop your mindset, or for you to be able to grow your mindset, you need to have what I call, you can read what I call the self-development books, you can listen to podcasts, you can work on your mindset, and you need to also do what I call thinking bigger. A lot of us don't think big, we think very, very small. We limit our potentials, we limit our ability, we don't believe in ourselves, we don't believe that we can do something great in life, because our mindset is so shallow, so low, so negative, so pervasive. So to achieve something great in life, you need to read a lot of books, listen to a lot of podcasts, work on your mindset and think bigger. A lot of us, we look down on ourselves and we don't even believe that we can do something great in life. And that's why in most cases we don't go far in life. We don't go far in accomplishing anything good in life, because we always limit our potentials, we always limit ourselves, we think ourselves, we have this inferiority complex. We don't believe that we can do anything. There's always this spirit of procrastination, always like postponing, and we are not hardworking. We postpone and we are not hardworking. We don't have the vision, we don't have the energy, we don't have the insatiable task to push. The desire is not there. We don't have that push. We don't have that strength. We don't have that, that hard work, that resiliency, that pragmatism is not always there, because we always look down, we cannot achieve it. So all success starts from the mindset. So if you want to succeed today, it starts from your mindset. Your mindset, you have to start building a positive mindset, seeing yourself in a big position, seeing yourself achieving something great in life, seeing yourself achieving something that other people cannot achieve, seeing yourself going an extra mile. Then when you start visualizing this, you can turn it to a reality and you can achieve whatever you want to achieve in life. So you also need to sacrifice a lot of things, because most cases people don't want to sacrifice, and they don't know that if you don't sacrifice, you cannot gain results. So you need to sacrifice some things in your life. And society is that you need to deny yourself if you want to climb this ladder of success. You have to deny yourself so many things, like food, like clothing, like extravagant lifestyle, or living a fake lifestyle, or living too big, living as if you are big, but you are not rich. Living as if you are rich, but you are not rich. You are living from paycheck to paycheck. Living a fictitious life. Expending money extravagantly on things that cannot actually add value to your life. So you need to sacrifice something. You need to drop some certain things. You need to drop some certain lifestyles that will not help you at the end of the day. So what we're saying here is that you need what I call a decade of sacrifice, where you need to be focused, you need to be resilient, you need to be pragmatic, you need to be determined, you need to tell yourself that you can do this thing, you can achieve it. When I started some time ago, I was earning 52 naira. I could remember some years back, I was earning 52 naira, and when I said, man, 52 naira, I told myself, no, this is not the end. I need to push it, and I'm still pushing it today. So you must be resilient, you must be focused, you must be determined that you want to achieve this thing. You must make up your mind that you can achieve it. You can achieve it. There's nothing that can stop you. So once you have the mind of a champion, once you build that mindset, then you can go to any distance in life. You can achieve anything in life. Because at the end of the day, it's going to pay you. So those times you're actually sacrificing, you're denying yourself so many things, you're actually building a very good future for yourself. At the end of the day, it's going to pay you, because by the time you retire, by the time you're not working again, you already laid the foundation for what you're going to eat for the rest of your life. So you are not going to live in a life of depression, what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear, what you're going to, you will not be thinking, because why? You have already made a good foundation for yourself. You have built a good financial future for yourself. You have now built, you have invested over the years, and now the investment has actually compounded, and now you are now enjoying your money. Even when you are not working, your money is actually working for you. I hope you have actually gained something today. If you have finally gained something today from this topic, please subscribe. Until I see you next time, thank you and God bless you.